in your value exercises, projects, is some simple shapes. Now you might come across, you might have some ping pong balls. An egg will work if you have like a white egg, hard boil it, because they have nice, smooth, simple shapes. Or cylinders or cones, very uncomplicated. We're going to do another one where the next one after this there'll be more complex shapes. And one of the things I did with that was get some broken toys and spray paint them so they're all white. They don't have to, but it's the more neutral colors, the less color you have to look at, the easier it is to do with the pencil to get the values down. Anyhow, but say you're like, I got paper, Joe, I got nothing else. So a couple of simple shapes you can make, and I think I'd say for 3, but you can do a couple of different sizes of things. Like I said, a sphere works really nicely if you can find something simple, or like an egg. But one way, the simplest shape, let's start out with simple. We can make a cylinder. Hollow cylinder, doesn't even have to be sealed up. So I could measure there to there. That would probably be a genius idea, but I'm going to eyeball it right now. And I'm just going to remember to be careful. Don't lean your fingers over and cut your tip of your finger off. Or you can use scissors. Make sure that you're cutting on something that you don't care about. Although I keep using it to draw on. So I have a strip of paper. Okay, so I'm going to take this strip of paper. I'm going to line it up as best I can, and square as I can. Wow, I didn't cut that really badly. Should have measured. And I can just use a stapler. Now you can also use tape, or if you have some glue stick left. And I'm not, but okay, cylinder. Especially if I'm just, when I set this up, I'm looking at it from what I don't have to look at. Although trying to do the edge with the extra, that gives you some more complicated stuff. So if you want to just keep it simple, keep it to just the side without the thing. But we're going to set that aside. And we're going to make something else because cylinders are fun. And it's nice, again, like you could have a sphere. That would be nice. Now, it's a way to make we're going to make a cone. Real simple little cone. And I'm going to try to go through it relatively complicated. You don't have to do it. You could just go, and I'll show you the simple way. I'll talk about it. I usually like to work on the edge of the paper so I'm not wasting the entire center of the paper. Okay, so it's hard to see, but there's a little mark there where the center is. Now, now a cone, let's think about a cone. Cone's like this, okay? It has a slant height, SH, goes this way, okay? And it has a bottom here. We have the diameter of the bottom of it. So there's the circle of the diameter of the bottom of it, and then there's the circle that I have over here, which if we were working backwards, I would have, or actually no, we're working backwards. If we were going forwards, I would have, to figure out the size cone, I would have got the slant height and the diameter. But I just drew a circle. But if you were, the difference is, what I would do if I wanted to get a particular size, I would take the circumference of that circle at the bottom, which is the diameter times pi, 3.14. I didn't know we were going to get a math class today. And that'll give you the circumference of this. Now, then I would have made this circle with a radius of the slant height of that. So this would be the radius of this circle would be the slant height. So that would be from, the radius is half the diameter from the center out. So I would have set up my compass, measured that across to be the radius. Lots of work, because we're not going to do any of that, but you just thought you might know in case you're in a situation where you did need to make a thing. Basically, what I'm going to do is just cut out, you would cut away. So if you measured this diameter on this circle with that slant height, it wouldn't go all the way around, so you'd end up like cutting out a piece of pie. But what I'm going to do is, because we want some overlap to staple, so that, ignore all of that and look it up if you actually need it, but I'm just going to make a slice there. So there I have this, and what I can do is take these two and overlap them until I get something that I think would go well with my other cylinder object. And again, a piece of tape can work. Don't staple your fingers, Joe. But essentially I made a little cone. Okay, you probably made these for party hats at some point. Anyway, so you can use those to create your still life, your simple still life. One more thing. When you're doing your, I'm going to show you simply here something very basically, but you're going to be doing it from your still life and really looking and observing your still life, okay, as best you can, and taking your time and just working at it gradually. Okay, it's about patience and practice. It does help to have some place, quiet to concentrate and think, or zone yourself out. But what I want to be clear about is if you've got shapes, so say if you have that cone, and we looked at a cone, I would not draw a cone. Okay, that's a lopsided cone. And then, kind of go, not like this though, like that, okay? And the background, you're using line. We're trying to use value. Okay, there's a little bit of value up in there. You might lightly put it in. Make a very small cone here so the demo's quick. Lightly kind of sketch in because I'm looking at it, okay? And then I don't want there to be a line. I want the background and if it's dark behind the cone, and I'm not looking at a cone right now, so I'm cheating. Don't do that. Make your little still life. Take your time, and it's about observation. And look for where the highlights are. So there might be darker areas down here. And you did the practicing with the gradation and stuff. But you're not trying, you do not, here, let me do this. No, don't just do a line drawing for this. And there might be various, when you look at it, really look for where the lights and darks, and you might lose that edge. Like it might, if you're behind a white surface on a white object, depending on where the light's hitting, you might have highlights. So the lightest color, when you look at your thing, the lightest one should be the tone of the paper, and there might be a dark shadow underneath, and there might be a shadow back here. But anyway, basically, do it this way, where you're trying to use the value to define the shapes, okay? Not just with drawing outlines of things. So be very careful when you start out. Put your drawing, you can lightly sketch in something, but remember, you're not going to use it. You might have to erase that line. Or mocked up simple shapes. See, I put a piece of white paper behind it, so I have a clean kind of space to look at, and I can see sort of the shadows and the gradation on them. Also, focus on that area. When you're looking at it, that you can frame. You can zoom in on this. If you do this with a simple piece of paper, this is small, little setup. It doesn't have to be big, but you're kind of trying to ignore all the mess over there, the stuff over here. You're trying to focus on that, and you can kind of play with the lighting a little bit. This has one light hitting it right now. Sometimes you can put them next to a window and work on it. I've had people put them around where we put them in a box, like a shoebox, and you can have it set up so that you can, go back to it every now and then, so it won't be disturbed. Tape everything down inside the shoebox and kind of use that as your little environment. The color of the paper, the light of the paper, gets a little bit darker there, but it's really defined by that shadow. There's not a line drawn in space there. It's the curve of the edge and how the light's hitting it. So try to avoid drawing kind of lines. Also notice on the paper here, where you might have highlights where the light reflects off of this back onto the paper and such like that. You'll get it more with spheres. You get a little bit of it over here on this one where the light is reflecting back off of that. But how it goes from, a darker value over there to a lighter value, and even to some, a little bit darker over here, and then find what the darkest, kind of figure out where's the darkest and lightest value, just like you did with the gradation scale, value scale. Remember that guy? which is the darkest? What's the darkest part on this going to be? And then what's the lightest? And the lightest parts, the very highlights, should be probably in this area in this one, and then same thing in the back on that one back there, and then sort of the middle part of this one. Everything. All right, one last thing. You can use your value scale that you made if you have it separately from your sheet of paper, which you can do. You can cut it off, or you can use a separate sheet, and you can hold that up to your still life as you look at it and see which value the shadows match, and then you can take that back to your drawing since it's separated, and you can lay it on that and see if you have it light or dark enough. So that can be a little way to check your actual drawing. All right, keep going.